Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're putting on our network detective hats to decode the mysteries of IPv6 connectivity. So if you've ever stared at a terminal window just totally baffled as to why a service suddenly vanished from the network, well, you are definitely in the right place. Let's jump right in.
Here's the reality we're all dealing with right now. IPv4 exhaustion is real. It's not some distant future problem. It is literally a today problem. And with IPv6 increasingly running the show in the background, troubleshooting means we have to hunt down these essentially invisible routing issues when users experience complete outages. The old IPv4 tricks? Yeah, they don't always translate one-to-one. If you don't know exactly what to look for, an IPv6 blackout can feel a lot like searching for a needle in a digital haystack. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll outline the IPv6 Troubleshooting Challenge. Then we'll dive into the power of Ping 6, followed by mapping paths with Traceroute 6. After that, we'll tackle some real-world diagnostic scenarios and wrap it all up with IPv6 debugging best practices. Okay, Section 1, the IPv6 Troubleshooting Challenge. Let's look at the environment we're actually trying to fix here. Before we can ping anything, we really have to wrap our heads around these massive 128-bit addresses. Take a look at the auto-configuration flow. A host doesn't just jump straight onto the internet, right? It auto-configures its link local address first. That's the one starting with FE80. Then it performs duplicate address detection, sends a router solicitation, receives a router advertisement, and only then does it actually establish its global unicast address. If any single step in this timeline fails, your connectivity fails. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between these two address types, because they are the prime suspects in our detective work. A link local address is constrained strictly to your local network segment. And since every interface uses that exact same FE80 prefix, your operating system actually needs a zone ID, like F0 or EN0, to know which physical port to send the traffic out of. On the flip side, global unicast addresses are your fully routable, internet-facing addresses. When you're debugging, knowing whether you're failing at the local link level or the global routing level dictates exactly which tool you need to reach for next. So why does all of this matter so much today? Well, we're living right in the middle of a massive transitionary period. We are dealing with dual-stack networks that prioritize IPv6 by default. That means if IPv6 is broken but IPv4 is fine, your application might still just hang there waiting for a timeout. We're seeing IPv6-only Kubernetes clusters, huge multi-region cloud deployments, and edge networks that all rely entirely on this protocol. When misconfigurations happen in any of these modern setups, users on IPv6 preferred networks are going to experience heavily degraded service or just complete across-the-board blackouts.
Moving on to Section 2, the power of Ping 6. Time to pull out our first magnifying glass.
While the modern ping command on your terminal might handle both protocols automatically, Ping 6 is your precision instrument. It explicitly forces IPv6 connectivity testing. It bypasses IPv4 entirely. When you fire up Ping 6, you are guaranteeing that you are investigating the IPv6 layer. No false positives from some sneaky fallback to IPv4. Now, these aren't just your standard command flags. They are absolute power moves. Take the -I flag. Remember how we said link local addresses need a zone ID? Well, the -I flag lets you force the interface when you're tracking down those super tricky local issues. And the -S and -mdo flags? Those are your secret weapons for finding MTU or maximum transmission unit issues. You literally tell the network, hey, do not fragment this packet, forcing it to confess exactly where a packet is getting dropped for being too big. It's kind of like trying to shove a massive couch through a doorway just to prove to the building manager that the door frame is too narrow.
And honestly, reading the output is an art form in itself. Recognizing the difference between a successful response, which gives you the byte sizes, the time, the TTL, and an immediate network is unreachable error, tells you so much. That immediate failure usually tells you instantly that the address is missing from the interface entirely, or maybe you're missing a default route. Basically, it means your packets didn't even make it out the front door.
Section 3, mapping paths with Traceroute 6. Let's figure out where the packets are getting lost.
If Ping 6 tells us if the network is broken, our next tool tells us exactly where the trail went cold. Think of Traceroute 6 as your geographic map of the network. It's absolutely essential when Ping 6 fails to reach a global address, but you've already proven your local link local connections are working perfectly fine. It's going to show you the exact router hop where your traffic is just dying. Just like with Ping 6, mastering these Traceroute 6 flags lets you completely bypass common roadblocks. The -n flag is fantastic for speed, right? It skips DNS resolution, so you aren't just sitting there waiting for hostnames to resolve. But the real hero here is the -t combined with -p. See, by default, Traceroute uses UDP or ICMP probes. But let's be real, firewalls absolutely love to quietly drop those. By using TCP SYN probes on a specific port, like port 443 for HTTPS, you can actually sneak your diagnostic traffic right past a firewall that is stubbornly blocking standard ICMP traffic. It's a brilliant little backdoor way to map a path to a web server. All right, Section 4, Real-World Diagnostic Scenarios. Time to take these tools into the field. Imagine an application can't connect to an IPv6-only service. Don't panic. Just follow the process. This rapid-fire 4-step workflow will systematically corner the culprit. Step 1. Verify DNS with dig AAA to make sure you are even trying to talk to the right address. Step 2. Test basic connectivity with ping 6. Step 3. If ping fails, find the exact drop point with traceroute 6. And step 4, verify the application layer port using that TCP traceroute flag we just talked about. It is a foolproof method for isolating the issue. Now, a classic mystery you are definitely going to encounter is the firewall block. This is a super frustrating one, where your actual web services are running perfectly fine, but your diagnostic tools are completely blinded. Your ping 6 requests just time out, your traceroute 6 just prints out endless lines of asterisks. Why? Because overzealous security administrators sometimes block all ICMP traffic, not realizing that IPv6 absolutely 100% relies on ICMPv6 to function at a basic level. So the crucial point is how you actually fix it. You have to surgically update your IP6 tables or whatever firewall appliance you're using to allow essential ICMPv6 traffic. I'm talking about echo requests for your pings, sure, but way more importantly, neighbor solicitations and router advertisements. Without those, IPv6 simply cannot map MAC addresses or find the local router. By explicitly allowing these, you ensure your diagnostic tools can actually see what's happening on the network. Let's tackle another common scenario, the infamous packet too big MTU issue. This one is sneaky because small packets like your standard pings will succeed, leading you to think the network is totally fine. But then large data transfers just mysteriously stall out. By using ping 6 with the -s size flag and the -im don't fragment flag, you can gradually increase the packet size until it breaks, pinpointing your exact MTU bottleneck. From there, your fix is to either reduce the interface MTU, usually safely down to 1280, or configure MSS clamping in your firewall. Finally, Section 5, IPv6 Debugging Best Practices. Let's talk about the operational habits you need to build. Consider this your cheat sheet for long-term success. Always, and I mean always, test both stacks. Because in a dual-stack world, relying on just one protocol's health check is a recipe for a massive blind spot. Your IPv4 dashboard might be green across the board. Meanwhile, your IPv6 traffic is dropping 100% of packets. Set up continuous monitoring, specifically targeting your IPv6 endpoints, and keep your tool sets updated. And hey, when you need to dig even deeper into the link layer, don't forget auxiliary tools like IP-6 and NDisk6. As the source material from One Uptime highlights so beautifully, the core logic of troubleshooting really hasn't changed from the days of IPv4. You verify the configuration, test connectivity, trace the path, and isolate the failure point. It's just the length of the addresses and the precision of the tools that have evolved. Master ping 6 and traceroute 6, and you seriously have the power to decode any modern network failure. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. With IPv4 addresses functionally exhausted at this point, it is only a matter of time before the training wheels come off entirely and your infrastructure inevitably goes IPv6 only. When that day comes and a critical service suddenly vanishes into the invisible routing ether, will you be ready to solve the mystery? Take the time to master these tools today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy troubleshooting.